Hey, everybody, welcome to the Daily Objective. And today is a solo episode, so I can definitely use your participation. Go ahead and participate in the chat room, the super chat especially, and let's get started. So a lot of you might have already seen by now this interview that Candace Owens did with former President Donald Trump. And the particular moment that we're going to watch here, well, rather than me previewing it and telling you about it, I'm a firm believer in show, don't tell. So let me here share my screen. It may take me a minute here to figure out because I am what the kids call a boomer. Here we go. I think you can see the screen now. Yeah, there we go. Let me actually press play now. And here we go.
Ever pays for the corruption.
Yeah.
And right now we're seeing—
I probably didn't share sound. Let me stop sharing and then start sharing again. So, oh, now I was wrong. You could hear the sound. Sorry about that. And here we go.
Corruption live, even in terms of big pharma, which is a huge topic on the minds of mothers, especially. You're seeing what's happening at these school board meetings. Where do you stand on these vaccine mandates? And obviously, I know that you are pro-vaccine. Obviously, you did everything you could to get this vaccine out. I know where you stand on the vaccine.
It was one of the greatest achievements. We did it in less than 9 months.
To be able to do that.
Yeah,
but now it's taken a twist, right? It's gotten— now we went from this is a good thing and people should have this option to military men, you're going to have to resign because you're not getting this vaccine. Where do you stand on that?
Well, I stand on, forget about the mandates, that people have to have their freedom. But at the same time, the vaccine is one of the greatest achievements of mankind. We would have had in 1917, remember the Spanish flu, killed perhaps 100 million people. Actually, it ended the First World War because the soldiers were so— a lot of people don't know that. The soldiers got so sick. It was a terrible thing. There were no vaccines. There was no anything. I came up with a vaccine, with 3 vaccines. All are very, very good. Came up with 3 of them in less than 9 months. It was supposed to take 5 to 12 years.
And yet more people have died under COVID this year, by the way, under Joe Biden, than under you. And more people took the vaccine this year. So people are questioning how—
well, no, the vaccine worked, but some people aren't taking it. The ones that get very sick and go to the hospital are the ones that don't take the vaccine. But it's still their choice. And if you take the vaccine, you're protected. Look, the results of the vaccine are very good. And if you do get it, it's a very minor form. People aren't dying when they take the vaccine.
What about the masking of children?
Now, even in—
All right, so that was that clip. And then, as you can imagine, a lot of people had a lot to say about that. So before I even stop sharing the screen, we're going to jump over to a video that Candace Owens, the interviewer in that clip, posted addressing her fans directly.
And he believes that because he comes from a generation, like people, you oftentimes forget like how old Trump is. He comes from a generation. I've seen other people that are older have the exact same perspective. Like they came from a time before TV, before internet, before being able to conduct their independent research, and everything that they read in a newspaper that was pitched to them, like they believed that was a reality. And one of those things was, this push for vaccines and believing that people were going to die without vaccines. And so I believe that his support of the vaccine is genuine and it's not based in any corruption at all. I think he actually believes those things. And people that are saying, how is he ignoring all the people that are being injured? And, people are sending Rumble videos and all of these, websites, obscure websites. I believe also that he only reads the mainstream media news. Believe it or not, I do not believe that Trump reads or partakes in any other news sources. I don't believe that Trump is on the internet or, that he necessarily uses the web to try to find, obscure websites. I think that he just relies on, typical mainstream sources. So I don't think that there's anything evil going on there. I just wanted to say that because so many donors, supporters of his are kind of like questioning where all of this is coming from. And I think he just genuinely believes that. And he needs to sit down and, have a full conversation with someone. I was interviewing him in that circumstance, but he needs to have a larger conversation to really understand what's going on.
So, hold on. Sorry. I still got the video playing in my headphones. But yes, okay, that was me sharing the screen. I hope you enjoyed that that little treat. So, okay, let's talk about this. The interesting thing about all of that is that in that last clip, Candace Owens needs to address her audience and assure them that she doesn't think Trump is in the pocket of big pharma, that he's manipulating them. Because I guess believing that the vaccine is a thing, like believing that it's effective, actually not throwing the vaccines in the trash is reason to suspect that you're part of a conspiracy, or part of, that you're economically motivated with some type of bad faith or something like that. It's absolutely ridiculous. So now Candace Owens is not, she is very, very influential. She's no minor player in today's culture. Certainly on the right, she is no minor player. And what what the hot topic is here is not, race relations and, hey, like, we're not going to let the Democrats tell us black people how we're supposed to feel and how we're supposed to vote. This is not that. This is literally, are vaccines real? Should we throw these vaccines in the trash? This is Candace Owens saying that just because Trump is saying that the vaccines are effective does not mean he's necessarily part of this bigger conspiracy. Okay, now let me jump back a little bit over a year ago. I remember hosting this show a day or two after the election, and sharing that something had sort of clicked in my mind when I saw Donald Trump get up on the stage the evening of the election and announcing, like, we won. We're going to sue to make them stop counting votes now because we won and we know they're trying to steal the election. He can just come up with that, and everyone ran with it. Everyone, a lot of his supporters ran with it, and it became the official narrative in those people's minds that they were voicing and acting on. And of course, we know many people refused to accept the outcome of the election, and we know how nasty it got in some cases. Even putting aside the dramatic climax of that, referring, of course, to January 6th, it's the incapability of people to communicate with one another now in this Tower of Babel that we've built here, where people, two separate groups of people in America are living with two separate narratives. Let's say one lives with the narrative that, the Democrats, they just easily take elections that they want, and another segment of the country just believes like white people are this, just this completely unhinged force able to just treat black people any way they want. The police are in on it. History itself is one giant force here at play to oppress the black man. So we've got these two different narratives here. Two people living in the same reality with two different narratives. And that was, and it was the election fraud allegation that made me realize this epistemology, if I can use that word, that or lack of which, that Trump used in just announcing, I won the election legitimately, but the Democrats are stealing it. And just the way that people ran with that made me realize, like, okay, now we're unable to communicate. People are no longer arguing about political philosophy, political policy. Now it's just, we're literally arguing about like what actually is taking place in reality. These two different narratives. So the whole election fraud thing, I thought like this is the end of our ability to communicate here in America, or in the world, I suppose. Since we're addressing a global audience here today. But the election fraud issue is relatively minor compared to the whole vaccine thing. Elections come up every couple of years. The big one is every 4 years, right? The presidential one, that's the one most people pay attention to. As difficult as that whole election fraud propaganda made it to communicate among Americans, the vaccine thing is like next level. Now we've got a segment of the country that believes the vaccines are not only bad for you or ineffective, but that there's a gargantuan power play here. Anyone who produced the vaccine, who is selling you the vaccine, who is requiring you to take the vaccine in any circumstance is in on this conspiracy. Now, like Donald Trump in that clip, and I think like virtually everyone on this network, maybe everyone on this network, I would assume everyone on this network, and many of you watching, I am opposed to mandates. You may not tell anyone what to inject in themselves. How that manifests in In a proper free society, I don't know. Like when it comes to where people would be allowed to go if they're carrying an infectious disease and refusing to get vaccinated, I don't exactly know. But I do know that certainly someone who owns property has a right to say you can only come onto my property if you are vaccinated. I think that's perfectly reasonable. Or maybe in some cases it's not reasonable, but people have a right to do that. But now there's a strongly held narrative in America which says that not only are the vaccines one big lie, and anyone who agrees with the vaccine is suspect, that they may be in on this conspiracy, but even now people who require you to be vaccinated to enter their business, to work at their business, is part of it. They're on the left, quote unquote. So like I said earlier, we're no longer arguing about policy. We're no longer arguing about political philosophy. It's no longer about ideology. The way I think of ideology, I'm not entirely sure how you would define ideology. I think of ideology as usually like a packaging of different policies together. So if you're let's say like a Democrat ideologue, you lump together, higher taxes and I don't know, being pro-abortion on one side or pro-choice as they call it. And on the other side, the ideology is, gun rights and I guess lower taxes. I used to say lower, more economic freedom, but of course that's changed. But different ideologies used to be at play. And in past election cycles or in past eras of the political life of Americans, you would see them arguing about, should taxes be higher or lower? Should the economy be highly regulated or less regulated? Should abortion be legal or illegal? Should guns be, regulated or not? And yes, those things are going to still be debated. But right now, the main debate is not even about policy. It's not even about ideology or political philosophy. It's not about the approach to policy or the nature of government. Right now, the actual raging debate in the United States is are the vaccines one big lie or are they legitimate medicine? It's made it basically impossible to communicate now. And where do I want to stand in this? I want nothing to do with anti-vaxxers, or it's just I don't want to engage in this debate. Other people can have this. Medically informed people can argue amongst each other, I suppose. I never signed up to have this debate, right? I'm interested in debating policy, I suppose. I'm interested in debating political philosophy more than that, philosophy in general. But now the political issue of our time is whether or not vaccines are legitimate or not, whether or not there's this conspiracy at play. So now if you're pro-vaccine, you're on the left, quote unquote. If you require people to be vaccinated to enter your business, to enter your property, you're on the left. That's what the left means now. So if I believe that vaccines are legitimate, does that mean that I am on the left now? We are truly in very confusing and difficult times to maneuver, I would say. Now, to be clear, and I know this is going to go in a lot of people's ear and out the other ear, I do not, and like I said earlier, I do not believe in mandates, vaccine mandates. I'm not a political philosopher, and I do believe political philosophy is very complex. So I would defer to scholars of the subject of how exactly a free society would deal with a virus like COVID. But in current day, in this timeline, I am not agitating for any mandates at all. But I do differentiate between people's private property and government action. So the government may not mandate vaccines, but a private employer is perfectly within his rights to do that. Now, when it comes to the military, which Candace Owens mentioned, right? Just a few short years ago, I remember it was the biggest deal that trans people were not going to be allowed in the military, something like that. And people on the right were saying hey, it's a military decision, or the better elements of the right. That's the argument they made. That is the argument to make. The generals, the people the tacticians of the military should decide who gets in and who doesn't get in. People with flat feet argue, if they decide we don't want people with flat feet in the military, then they're not getting in. If they say we don't want people with any sort of psychological problem in their history in, that's their decision. Could be the right decision, could be the wrong one. I don't know, but it's their decision. This is a tactical choice by the military. I don't think people, I've never heard a good argument saying that like everyone's just entitled to join the military. Like everyone's just entitled to participate in the military. That's not at all how I see the military. What do you think? So, okay, so trans people were eliminated from the military because of their psychiatric or psychological situation. Whether or not you agree with that decision, I would say it's the decision of the tacticians of the military. And now, if the military says you need to be vaccinated to be part of the military, again, this could be the wrong decision, arguably. This could definitely ruin a lot of people's, hopes and dreams. Let's say they joined the military hoping it would get them into school, whatever. It was part of their, it was one of their big decisions in life that would get them where they wanted to get. And now this is going to ruin that. My heart is very sorrowful to hear that. But again, it is the choice of the military. So the fact that now we have a conservative, a right-wing figurehead, a big influential person like Candace Owens, trying to make it so the military may not discriminate against the unvaccinated. And definitely a lot of people on the right are not saying very much in favor of property rights these days. My understanding is that red states like Florida are making it very difficult for businesses to either fire people or to close their business door for the unvaccinated. They are definitely making, so conservatives here have an opportunity. And I know, imagine my shock that conservatives are missing an opportunity to thoughtfully counter the left with something rational. Imagine my shock that conservatives are missing that opportunity. But they have had, and they have an opportunity, in my opinion, to say, look, all of us are not sure how we feel about this vaccine right now, but we want to be clear that we respect property. So if anyone is requiring a vaccine for their business, make that clear. We will choose whether or not we want to come near your business. We will try to set up our own businesses that have more of a, that have more of an open policy towards the unvaccinated. There is an opportunity here to have some semblance of principles, just consistent principles. There's an opportunity to do that. But of course, we are seeing an orgy. We're seeing a passionate mob riot on the right against businesses and people that would like to only associate with the vaccinated. Now, keep in mind, some people are very vulnerable to COVID. Some people, they will die if they're exposed to it. Or let's say a business owner knows that their customers are potentially vulnerable. Then they only want vaccinated people coming into their business. Nope. You see some videos on the internet of, these just archetypical right wingers entering businesses that require masks. Imagine how they're dealing with the whole vaccine thing now, but you see them entering businesses that require masks, unmasked, and saying, you can't kick me out. I have a right to be here as an American. Of course it's being applauded. Where are the thoughtful conservatives saying like this type of thing is wrong? We need to be very, very clear about property rights. So it just seems like with each passing year, right-wingers, conservatives are moving farther and farther away from defending property rights, farther and farther away. A few years ago, you started to see Republicans supporting protectionist policy, supporting, laws that restrict trade between individuals in America and, businessmen overseas, putting, quote, America first. You started to see that. Then, of course, we're seeing now that conservatives seem to be pretty, of course, with the whole big tech BS, right? Like Ben Shapiro advised Ted Cruz to grill Mark Zuckerberg about his website's policy on the grounds that, well, is Facebook a platform or is it a publisher? So a complete bastardization of what those things even mean, publisher and platform, as far as I can understand. People that I respect, people that I do believe in property rights, have rolled their eyes heavily at that whole publisher versus platform distinction vis-a-vis Facebook enforcing their community guidelines, or deleting right-wingers, deleting conspiracy pages, deleting whoever it is they choose to delete. Like, that makes them now a publisher. Like, that makes them, I mean, it's not the subject of today's show, but that was the next level with which we saw conservatives and Republicans blurring the lines of what it means to have property and property rights. And now, of course, today we're seeing, I mean, we saw this with masks, and now we're seeing it with vaccines, that conservatives have an opportunity to say, look, we're not entirely sure we're on board with the vaccine, and we certainly are going to fight to the death against the government mandating this vaccine, but we are going to be very clear that property is property and government action is government action. All right, let me take a sip of my water. I just, it's nice to have my voice back. That's the good news. All right. Super chat time, shall we? Jonathan Honig with 99 cents. Why does that name ring a bell? Roland with 4.99 euros says, is it just his hairstyle, or has he aged a whole lot over the last year? Hey, man, I can hear you. I'm right here. I wish she wouldn't talk about me when I'm kidding. He's talking about Donald Trump. Yeah, he has, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, being president makes you older. And then, you know, being impeached twice and being impeached on your way out of office and having all your social media. I mean, just having all your social media alone can be quite stressful when you think about it. All right. Marilyn with $5. Thank you for that. Jonathan Honig with $9.99. Thank you, Jonathan. Roland again with $4.99 says, yeah, bro, we're all, quote, on the left now. I know, it's like, so again, think about what this means. If you think the vaccine is legitimate, if you're pro-vaccine, and again, not pro-mandate, but like Donald Trump in that clip, you encourage people to take it and you yourself take the vaccine, that means you're on the left. And according to Candace Owens' base there, you're suspect, you're possibly part of this conspiracy at best. How did Alex Jones put it? At like Trump is either very ignorant or the most evil person on earth. Again, so these are the people standing against the left. So I'm supposed to pick a side in this ridiculous death match between extremely crazy leftists and conspiracy nuts, these quackpots. No thanks. Look, I've been saying for a while, the internet, you know, I love so many things and hate so many things about the effect it's had on the world. We've definitely gotten to a point where just complete nobodies with no credentials whatsoever can become the most influential people on earth. And I understand there was a lot wrong with the media and with influential people before the internet and during this time. I don't mean to downplay the horrors of how organizations like CNN have handled their positions of responsibility. I completely agree with any of you who hate what the mainstream media is and all of that, the mainstream academia and all of that. But I mean, in my opinion, like alternative news, you know, internet, you know, fighting back against the mainstream, it's like the mainstream media stripped of any semblance of credibility. It's just nothing but hot-headed, crazy people, uneducated and passionate, volatile people talking about nothing. We are in trouble, my friends. We are in deep, deep trouble. Back to the super chats. Mary-Aline with $10 American says, I have self-described redneck relatives who are anti-vax. I tell them I have a healthy distrust of government, but I chose to get vaccinated. We love each other a lot and they appreciate my view. Well, that's nice. I mean, yeah, it shouldn't be controversial to take a vaccine. This is not some cutting edge new technology. I mean, I think the mRNA is cutting edge, but I mean, vaccines are not a new thing. Now, Candace Owens was an anti-vaxxer before COVID existed. She was always an anti-vaxxer. People like Ben Shapiro chose to turn a blind eye to that stupidity and to hire her on the Daily Wire. Great going, Ben Shapiro. Haven't heard much from you lately about your lovely employee over here and the influence she's having on conservatives. Good going, Ben. Okay, she was always an anti-vaxxer. Large swarms of people have been getting their science, quote unquote, from quackpots on the internet. And this has been a movement for quite some time. But now, like, this is now the ideological war. Now, if you're not anti-vax, that means you're on the left. I mean, is this really the battle you want to fight? Is this the battle you want to fight? I mean, is this the battle that you want to fight? Did I mention that part? Did I ask that question yet? All right, everybody. I guess that's all the time we have today. I know I say that phrase when I'm ready to wrap it up, but it doesn't literally mean that's all the time we have. It just means I think that's the show. Thank you all for joining us today. Please consider becoming an Ayn Rand Center UK member. You'll get exclusive content and you'll help this thing grow because there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Don't forget to like the video. There is a good philosophy, a positive philosophy that helps you as an individual approach, take on the world. Yes, a lot of people have read Ayn Rand already and have learned basically nothing. A lot of people, a lot of these conspiracy people, a lot of these quackpots on the internet would not surprise me at all if Atlas Shrugged is on their bookshelf, because Atlas Shrugged is on a lot of bookshelves. And also, the more you study philosophy, the more you see what happens when you kind of take parts of it, but leave a lot of contradictions in your mental constitution or intellectual constitution, I suppose. But the good news is, if you are a truly rationally selfish individual, if you're really just looking at the world first-handedly and asking, what can I get out of this? I want a lot. I think Ayn Rand's philosophy may be for you. So I would read Ayn Rand's books. I would consider becoming a member of the Ayn Rand Center UK, where you can access some really, really smart intellectuals for study groups and stuff like that. And you could help this thing grow, sustain, and deliver more content. I mean, just look at all the content on this channel. Good Lord, you think I'm good? Look at all the other shows and all the other hosts. It's really something to see right now. All right, coming up today at 8:30 UK time, it's an essay discussion. James Valiant on the inexplicable personal alchemy by Ayn Rand. So that's good. If you haven't read that essay, check it out and watch James Valiant discuss it. I think that's all we've got today. We're off to a busy new year already, though. Yesterday was Monday. We had Harry Binswanger. If I would have told you, let me put it this way: as hopeless as things seem to get in the world, as the more irrational things are getting in the world, the more the rational people seem to be really getting their act together. I'm very happy to see what a lot of objectivists have been doing in studying, teaching, and bringing their lessons in a palatable form to you and me on the internet. Thank you for joining today. Thank you for bearing with me. I understand my opinion may not be your opinion. All I can really ask you to take I'll say on faith is I'm not part of a conspiracy. This is my actual belief. All right. And we'll be back here tomorrow, same time for the Daily Objective. See you on Clubhouse right now. Goodbye.